I want to say that, that the Holy Dharma is such a blessed thing.
Tereng chushi jete pesalap chimbo, tereng lamate je Gampopa seata, hachang kadam pa gevishini, Kagyu nani, Kagyu tsuk norwe, Kagyu yungsa chungoda chi chade yudu zane, na tek tenda ochi samlotana nyamni nanga yore, ngarang tsuya di chu tereng cheni siki yudu zane, yinchi mini di kola samlotana yada ke chimbo ri yasi.
So it's important for us to realize that the Dharma and the Lama who we are celebrating today is extremely blessed. That Lord Gampopa was a great master of the Kadam lineage and the crown jewel of the lineage of the Kagyu.
Oh yeah, tindishe. Laso, ta de la chu ngui de ma shi de lang ngona. Ani nga chu gong long ya bo ji chu, ani chu shu ge de su go de de ren de ma gwa chi ho ma ni nga chu don chari yo wa, de de za ne. Ani gong long ya bo ji chu shu si nga ran chu ta tang ge gong de xie ban na yin. Ngun ne ta ne ge nga ran chu ta kham song ko dong ha ge jam so chi bon di na nen cham de li. Rang da ve sim chin tham chi. lakbar de chaban de ziji dong ha kan nan ne chaban de ziji dong ha se ya de ha cha to ka morin do wa de ke jing de li sim chin de nam tu na ya dewa me ba in du cha ni di sim chin de na dewa de din na che ma rong dong ha da tra na che ma rong de na dewa de din bi chi dong ngai de na dam bi chu de nyam ni chi ki yin sa ba gong long je ju shuo si.
So set your motivation. We've already discussed it a great deal. But thinking about, sentient beings who are falling into samsara, who are drowning in the ocean of suffering, samsara, just like ourselves, and thinking, how wonderful it would be if they could experience real happiness and be free of suffering, but how difficult that is, largely because it's so difficult to realize the pervasive suffering of karmic conditioning, which traps us in samsara. So with this understanding, wishing to free living beings from suffering, and the bodhicitta motivation, we'll go on with the practice.
Any train nga chu temdre mande rande sumba na yin train chiba chonga ani tgana ji train chiba chonga de la ani je Gampopa nga chu ta dan shuti she kin ba kin din je ba bo je Gampopa ni ta dirza tanjin kin ji ngola ani shikhana phe chut din ba o den de ji ni mo dang chiba chonga dang ani nga chu nam ya jun de za pin ba la tharjin ge tharjin ma de da lam chori chin thwa ka sung chu ta de sung ga nyam den zong ba ke tu chin ji ni mo la khide yo re chi.
And we're extremely blessed for this auspicious occasion, having come together without our intending it, that it is the full moon, that it's the our usual Saturday teaching of the Precious Garland of the Supreme Path, and that should coincide with this anniversary of the passing of Lord Gampopa, who left his legacy of benefit for sentient beings. For all these to come together like this is so auspicious.
Ani chiran zokin dunji nam khala tereng ani Gampopa Sonam rin chi ani ten dunji nam khala ngusum da manma taksum cha changwa ji yu dunji nam khala samba che ani ngaya ti samba se ne ani ngaya ma chubju de man de yin si.
So visualizing Lord Gampopa and the lineage gurus before us, then I will recite my preliminary recitations.
Tisum sanje tam je je ngo re dan jeng khora jam se chap da ka ding song ba me be ban gon den jin la ma dam be shep je de zhe ma me ba la go ve rab de ke be san sa shin Japsenjo Jusenja La Paranze de So Namda Chetum Zame Sajela Tenzin Pamir Long Benzi Shiram Yeda Nawe Chukon Sa Tumcho Don Contre Gile Anzo Nito Chimbi Paya Liman de Lodu Chimbi Chukun Tenye Se Trupa Chimbi Chubdu Jian de Losa Chimbi Shabla Sorwa de Nimde Chimbi Kuda Zene Je Kapche Chimbi Lama Niparanze Zendu Chimbi Tipe Jansin Je Rikpa Chimbi Shabla Sorwa de Tipa Chimbi Rincho Yonsu Se Saja Chimbi Topang de Je Tile Chimbong Khada Nyambarada Ningom Chimbe Shabla Soba de Shivsan Kalan Chirab Jenkoroje Zebe Dongder Zelina Po Jarbatimba Kone Sanzeba Kajurumbara Songla Sorwa de Jambara Dorjing Ala Wanjurushin Lodipum Sangi Durje Tinji Jam Soron Zon Zebe Panjo Shana Bemongusa Omin Chujin Porang Ne Dusum Sanje Kunjong Rasim Jikong Sum Dongze Ba Zavalama Namlang Gusa Yonde Sanje Konda Nyamna Yang Gadin Sanje Kongwe Lapen Kong Zavalame Shabla Soande Dakson Dovelo Na Chuse Dong Gada Sobje Dong Genje Dina Deshi Loma Jeba Gangsa Da Tender Timbe Chujen Chambe Simbarande Ba Tam Jen Dershi Namo Ayatamba Layekita Ludan Nipjinke Chum Dada Meye Kinam Dan Roa Kunje Dake Jitamba Tamche Keda Dake Chuti Ando Majun Roa Namkan Tada Nyambe Simjin Tamche Sije Dongan Tada Le Darte Namdur Tinje Deva Lana Meba Yangda Bazo Basanje Je Kompa Rumbochi Tini Jine Jang Tobarasa Tati chi de tambe chu samon de ni chujin de sine nyamse lambar jo nyambe gone sin char.
O benevolent root guru, who is in essence all Buddhas of the past, present, and future, with great devotion I prostrate to you and go for refuge to you with my body, speech, and mind. Please grant your blessings to be cared for you by you inseparably in this lifetime and all of my future lives. Clean ground of pure ethical discipline, beautified by mountains of unfathomable samadhi, illuminating all things with wisdom light of the sun and moon, supreme Buddha, who accomplishes the welfare of all, please bestow virtue and goodness. Your mandala expanding throughout space and knowledge of all things, beautiful thousandfold light striking the lands of trainees, fully illuminating all of Buddha's teachings in their entirety. With devotion I prostrate to the great jewel of the Kagyu. O glorious and precious root guru, please take seat of lotus at my heart. Caring for me in your great kindness, please grant attainments of body, speech, and mind, equal to all Buddhas in qualities of realization, yet surpassing all Buddhas in kindness to me. I pray at the feet of my root guru, O protector, please turn the minds of myself and all beings towards the Dharma. All you who have become disciples of the Sagatas, those gone to bliss, throughout the billions of worlds of the 10 directions, all of you who wish to hear the Dharma raining down here and now, may you come here. Namo. In languages of devas, nagas, and yakshas, languages of kumbhandas and human beings and kitty cats, in the sounds of whatever beings exist, in every language I shall teach the Dharma. Please listen well with the motivation of bodhicitta, thinking all mother sentient beings equal to the extent of space must by all means attain unexcelled eternal bliss of perfect complete Buddhahood. To accomplish this, I shall listen carefully, without distraction, to the Mahayana teachings being given here and put them into practice.
Hola so tatina na like it luta nubjinda trizata drumda any dramada make it a shema gore inchi the shema gore that tunrok ke a shin do shin do as ko ja jun ri nga de na de she ke yomar de yine sanji chomdin de kan ne sun chu nang ne kapsu song ji ni de song na ya de ma ni de so so ko si song de korang ka tambo pali thoni song wa indi chane Pali ke thoni Khorang ke song de Pali thoni song wa ina yang ani kap de du chuyo wa suyo na yang thana tundum bisin chunje ke Khorang jo rana ke mandi pa thoni gondo ko yori is tade sorju ke sanje ke tende songdang chiri ta nganda le tuna ta ranchi chiran ji shirwa ne yinchi tabja ji ja ke yori boke tabja boke ji chi ke yori de ni chi chi ke yo bare.
In this verse of Namo in languages of Devas, Nagas, and Yakshas, languages of Kumbhandas and human beings, in the sounds of whatever beings exist in every language, I shall teach the Dharma. You know, for me to say that I'm teaching the Dharma in the language of Devas, Nagas, Yakshas, Kumbhandas, human beings, animals, and so on, you know, it's kind of, that's a lie where I'm concerned. However, you know, where Buddha was teaching, then, you know, when Buddha would teach in the Pali language, and because of the special qualities and blessings of Buddha's speech, every being who was in attendance could understand the teachings in their own language, even down to the animals and insects, even. So this is a special quality of Buddha. So we're emulating Buddha in stating this, you know, but for me to say that, you know, it's merely that, an emulation. You know, I'm not really capable of that. I barely have any, you know, English that I can use in much, you know, so I just, you know, have Tibetan and a little bit of broken English is all I have in languages.
Yeah. Ani ta gong de ba nan yin ni gong long ya bo ji ju gong long da gong de ba nan yin de se ju ne ani de ren a zu ngu ji chu de ma shu ge yin si.
So this is a preliminary. Now we'll enter into the main practice for today.
Ta de la ya bo ji chiran zu ngaran zu chame sam lo tang wa yin na de ren ne ta ne ha cha ka wa zang bo ri sang ko de ngaran ke ne yin ba yin na ta dang ge gong de ba na ji chi ba jo nga yin ba je gam bo ba ken den chu yin ba ani Khorang ke song ya li ke dang ma yu na mi na de ren nga chu je gam bo ba Khorang ke den chu la ani tin den chu la ta nga chu 어다든 제고라데 신이시야데 또 진록 체디 차디르 가장 담봉에 삼롱 코르데 파체 예감보바가 라듭 된듯이 냠니세 취데 야야나데 마시나 상소 삼로니바지 땅데 알레 다 라듭 레장 취시야데 라사치 예감비 빈데 추게 제고라데 라사치 가치 조야마도 그 고랑게데 하자 개침보 짜침보 생각을 당와 낭야주리 다른 가주tin 체니스야 돼 아니 니마 드랭들라고 네 시 고야지다 고랑게 된추니 못들라 오 차데드자네 마주단 뎀추 대양 뎀추 수당 대양 제 감보바 고랑게 송야리 그 파추 벌레나 야리 그 당와든 가주 드랭 냠니 시게드자네 네 참에 가와다 좋아한데 공쇼시.
So please do rejoice in our opportunity to be so fortunate to do this practice today. As I said, this coincidence of the full moon, Gampopa's anniversary of his passing into paranirvana, and our usual Saturday session of practice. And I had thought to go on with the regular teaching today, but then I thought, you know, since this is the anniversary of Gampopa's passing, you know, what could be better for us than to have a ceremony honoring him, the one who has given us all of these precious instructions.
담봉 아주 라듭지 냠니 시고 삼송시 아니 제
I
감보바
thought
라듭지
we'll first do the Guru Yoga, or the Guru practice of Lord Gampopa.
아니 유마 삼노 단데 텔레장 단데 추디 냠니 시는 아주 투삼세바이나 나 때문에 돈단 데바게 제 감보바다 진댐 추수당 된다 데바치 이 아버지 작은 삼송시.
And then moving on to the instructions of Gampopa and the Precious Garland of the Supreme Path, that would be especially good then if we proceeded with this.
라소 아니 다 드린 같이 다 주친 담보 주친 이바 주친 순바 드는 메신도 놓고 요아 때인데 전에 드린 주친 순바들라 아니 팀버사베 추주스야 되게나는 도도와.
So, in this, we have now our third session of the teaching on the precious garland of the Supreme Path. And in this third set of 10 third set of 10, it is those 10 which are to be relied upon. 10 things to be relied upon.
또바다 투지 딘베 라마 담바 딘 윈신 양가라 신차부 공바 딘 답준 튼시 로트베 로보 딘 초보 요새지 중당 초보 요새지 중진신 수신바 딘 도톱지베 명아 소미 딘 라힐레 빈베 제하 당 딘드사모 딘 감단 투베 세당 탑람 딘 냥라 핀비 춥주다 줄람 띵 대구 까와다 딘바 소마 띵 줄라 남저 준데 딘바다 십신 띵 데네 딘브라사베 추죠스.
These are the 10 things upon which to rely. Rely upon a holy guru who possesses realization and compassion. Rely upon solitude that is isolated, pleasant, and endowed with blessings. Rely upon stable companions of like views and practice. Rely upon moderation, recollecting the defects of necessities. Rely impartially upon the instructions of the lineage of Siddhas. Rely upon materials, medicines, mantras, and profound interdependence that are beneficial to oneself and others. Rely upon food that suits your constitution and upon the path of method. Rely upon Dharma and conduct that benefit your experience. Rely upon worthy disciples who have faith and respect. Rely upon mindfulness and attentiveness throughout the 4 modes of conduct. Those are the 10 things upon which to rely.
다들은 아주 뒤주신 순바낭더니 책 어동라 안디시 마테와이나 하마오와 진짜 가야면도시.
When we look at this list of 10 things upon which to rely, I think that they're quite easy to understand. There's nothing too concealed about the meaning of this. But I'll still give a brief commentary.
마시 자침보 하장께 침보지 차대요리 시다 라마세야데 소수 자와 라마세야데 백자침보 백게 침보지 차대요리.
So this first point, to rely upon a holy guru who possesses realization and compassion. This is such an important point. The root guru, the holy guru upon whom we rely, having such qualities, this is an immensely important point.
Lakparto je Gampopa ke ndinani topa tuji ta dimbe lamaji go songdoa tate ko yimba chi tuba ko chi kheba any tendin Dharma da tende kaya ma songwa chene kheba ngoma te kari tenen khego yuri sidu chane kheba de ko si namju ko loja peju tangne shirab yarjeji ba tsamla kansa telang kheba sini yagi yo mari kheba ngoma te kare sina namju ke lo nipa kongde per chadu de tambe chu de nyamni se ne rang ju ku nyumong la so ba chachang de pangso chali dendri che ka lama tamba de la enin kheba sia chicken kheba da dongjin kheba ni de zane Siglan Kepa Mayin Bandina, Toba Tujita Dimba, Siatin Kepa and Chord Juba. All the Nichilang with Simne, any Gampopa, Tuba Mambochi, any Kepa Kedachi Lasopat, and Dekaya Masonachine. Toba Tujita Dim, Toba Tujita Dimbachina, Kepa Ibe Chaps. The Din Dutane, Kepa de, Dinanin Kepa de, second Kepa Mayin, but Dungeon Kepa la, Yane. Oh, the Nichina Yajuri, Yas, Toba Tujita Dimba.
So, out of all the qualities of a holy guru, Gampopa mentions realization and compassion. And so, what does Gampopa mean in terms of mastery or knowledge or realization? It's not having heard a lot of teachings and being able to recite them and have knowledge of the words, but rather it's the development of one's own intelligence and capacity through practice to have actual realization, understanding of these teachings. And when those are developed in one's mind, of the qualities of realization and compassion, then that is what really constitutes a true master, not someone who can simply recite the words of the teachings.
Tindinduane, the Korangan Yam Tony song during the Wakainsinam, Gampopa Sea, the Kadampak gives in Kepachirija. Yabuji Samatawaina, Gypsum Milarepa Mantil Hona, Kadampa gives him Mambo chicken dune, any young than the young chin and the Mambo chicken, any lakpa the Sansatang, any dola so button the Hacha Mambo chick, Korang Tubake. Kepa in the wa, Ambon Kepas in the Kadampe give he on the Talalem, you can Kepachi Chadwa. Yuma Koran Samotand Ale Tangi Tindrichika Hobjong say Yalite, Dama the so chick to do in Yamnesia Gondo, take Kanditana, Gond, any genie gypsy Milarepa in the Tane, the Koranke, the gypsy Milarepa, Muneka Topan Cho, Topa the Tugita Dimbe Lamate, the gypsy Milarepa in the Gome. So
Gampopa here was speaking from his own experience, because having studied in the Kadam tradition, where lamas became very erudite and knew vast amounts of scripture, he still then wondered how he would bring this all together into practice. And it was only when he found Venerable Milarepa that he could learn to do that. And in Milarepa, he found a teacher who was truly endowed with the qualities of realization and compassion. So he saw that he needed that, even though he already had vast knowledge of the teachings from his Kadam education.
that Toba the Tuji the Lamaji Tin Sadu, any categorisina, any Naranchi put a true and rogori song. That in any Chigla and dry during the Lama ke Simon True, Churan and Yamling Tony Simjing or Topan True, Sing on True, the Tane, any Churan Tombala Madevachi, Nana Madevachi, and Niran and rogoris. The young Koran Yamyong Tony Sondo, Ben a Gampopa Namtanana. Milarepa Namtana Tada Tambo Gypsy Milarepa Korangan Jin the Tani Danga Nang Danga the Ngon True any Milarepa in Yamachila I Churanga Zala Degomandos Jimsin Kains in a Churanga Danga Yongso Zoba Churanga at times one two Sassons that Churanga Lumbala Son and you retreat in and you Rungola do son that the young Korang that Namtalan derived during the Lama tin the rese tali kapsu any win balan ro goyate win shin yang gala sin chab gumbatins.
And in the second thing upon which to rely, it says, rely upon solitude that is isolated, pleasant, and endowed with blessing. So here we again see Gampopa's own experience in this, that after having received all of the instructions from Venerable Milarepa, then Milarepa told him that now you've received all these teachings, so it's up to you to now take them and practice them and go into retreat. So this is a natural succession of that once one has received instructions from a guru who has realization and compassion, to take it into practice, especially in an isolated place. And so this we can see exemplified in Gampopa's own life.
Any somebody, I didn't name in Balan Rolly Caps, any churang la, le tambo pala tambo, any sansa tang, any lamnam chimotation and song yuri. Any chimtun to drop what thing goes, chimtun to drop, dodging chiro, tamse zama, zabalama chipa, then the chigori song yuri. Then the Chinese somebody, tap jun twinch, lot of drop what things. Then the chicken and gold and rolly caps, churang locky cholige. The
third of the 10 things upon which to rely upon stable companions of like views and practice. So here again, we're building on progression, that once one goes into retreat, there are certain kinds of preliminaries, prerequisites in a place that is appropriate and best for isolated retreat, which J. Rinpoche outlines in his guide to the stages of the path to enlightenment. And one of those is to have stable companions who have similar perspectives and practice as oneself as a support for one's retreat practice.
Any jibate, any chobe of the Junting, Susi Batni, that the Jibatela, that the packaging body young at you. Then some mamboji, any choice mean. When they are watching some of Tawa in Aranzola, Zubochi Yorita, Zubotela Carego Yuri, Kalasayachi Gori, Jabla Gori, then Nisachi Goy, Desachi Goyota. Tangomachi some of Tawa in a test similar mato, Kayago you marry. Kalasayachik tang, Jabla Chunachik, then my Nisachi Tate Goyori. The imbe in Aranzo Messia de Pa was in Dongam Chibo. Choice Zani Mewa in the Zane. Any choice made it on a heart and jeep to say. Lakbar the Lumban Dinani. Jordi, Jochimbo the Soke. Choa Jimmy Zatan needs some milita that Nades and Disacha the Sola. Hang by chair, touch your Casa Callan of Jonsene. Mune Yabuji Samno Tawaina, Gengo Rana, Kahila Magic Michamadoa. Yabuji Samno Tawaina, that the Karichi the Chigi Yorita. That day in the time in dinner and sober of the June tensions. I just am just a thing, I'll pink cheat the chicken in some way. That the choice me in the tane, pin tabla, any churangla della, bear massy donhachimbo sena. Sanji chom dinner son yuri, Dambo soap donhar. But the part Dambo soap donhar, Bardestone with donhar. Taman Z dolly landlord could dongar. Satan, Songta, Lape Dongaya, non the Pumpron Taeshi Parasasi. Gangla nor you, Dela Dungar use. Jets am Japamju, you jets am Jenny, Joe no Lomjuna, tell us him the Dongar church yuris. What in the Songodoa, that a packaging body, Jabati.
The fourth thing upon which to rely upon moderation, reflecting the defects of necessities. So this is something that's very important for us to maintain moderation in things and to have contentment. If we think about what we really need as a human being, we have one body, which means that we need to have food to eat, we need to have clothing to put on, and we need to have a place to sleep. That's really the necessities of what we really need to have. But, especially in our prosperous society. Sometimes I meet, a couple who has a house, huge house, with so much, and then sometimes it's just one person left in a huge house with many rooms and so much, which is, what does it really help? In fact, it harms, because when we have a lot of wealth, first of all, as Buddha said, there's difficulty in accumulating it and gathering it. Then there's the difficulty of protecting it, guarding it. And then there's the suffering of it being lost and dissipating in the end, as it surely will. And so, as Buddha said, as much wealth as we have, there that much suffering there is. So the more wealth we have, the more suffering is involved, more problems are involved. So this is such an important quality to cultivate, contentment with having enough.
산지 좀 된데게 노르진 아닌 초도 줘봐도 가랭송도시나 노르진 아닌 초도 줘봐도 파번 노르든세야 송도와 대장도와
So there's the greatest riches that Buddha spoke of, the 7 jewels of the Aryas, which we'll list here. Deba something.
대당 추춤 대바당 추춤당 진바동와 숨지.
Faith, Deba deni gare.
대바 추춤
ethical discipline,
진바동와
generosity,
대다 추춤동라 공바당. 투베 주트스 투베 주트는 투네 베차 투네 주랑 주트로 송화데 노라인 송셔.
liberation of your mind through learning.
투베 주트 트유바 랑근원이 트유바. 베다 투베 주트 트유 말말에 랑근원이 ngo차와다 예근원이 트유바. 대니디 랑근요리 ngo차다 트유스야 돼.
And then having a sense of shame and embarrassment, a sense of shame if one were to do something to disgrace oneself, from one's own point of view, and then also to have a sense of embarrassment. We would also be restrained in our behavior in front of others. And then finally, intelligent wisdom, insight.
근데 이제잖니 다때 빼마시 놀고 나는 초도 줘봐대다 뒤서 거인 송요리 맞죠 야보지 삼로 땅와이나 소시 주라 대바 같이 요바다 소시 주라 초시다 시랍당 애니 특별 주로야당 애니 게데글라서 바 렌델랑 간두가 값서 랑경원이 ngo차와다 이경원이 트여봐 다 뒤서 걸 같이 맞죠 라니 또그 유미도 맞죠 하고도 와시.
So we can think to ourselves, investigate to ourselves how much of these riches that we have in our mind, the conviction and faith in the teachings, keeping a pure ethical discipline, generosity, the freeing of our mind through learning, a sense of shame and embarrassment that influences our actions and keeps them in an honorable mode, and insightful wisdom. So we should check to see what we have of these, that are really the supreme of all riches.
Anything the ngabade to top jupe menga somi thing sonyuri. To top jupe menga seade, they are Gampopa Koranke Nam talent rayuju, Korankin Yamilan rayuju. The Redoa Gampo Koran Kadampa Gavishin Lama Mambo Chitin, and a genie. Gypsy Milarepa, the city in the Menga Mambochi, Lama Mambochi to Tojipa Menga, so the reason me per Menga and the Koran Yamin on the Rizuyajuridoa.
Then the next point is to rely impartially upon the instructions of the lineage of Siddhas. So this again is reflective of Gampopa's own life, that he relied upon the instructions of many great masters, and finally those of the master Milarepa.
Any Ghana yi Tubadeke Ranjin la Pimpe Zenga, Ranjin la Pimpe Ze, Mi, Ngatang, Temple Samotins. Adi Kapsu Tubade Karet Sikari Siditane, Retul Deba in and Lama Chuba Tindiko Ke Yang, Chansala, any Ze la Sobatang, any Mi Tang, any Ha la Sobatang, any Temdrik Tony. Tony ta temde la soba, tendeka Tony, any Dangwa Samo la soba, Gupa Wangi, any Pena Zeseate, Kam Jotang, Ze la soba, Lani Najane, any Kambala Sone. The neon Chitikaps any Pena Magic Dawachi the Sondele, Quarantine more Kichikil and Rotobika Kanjok, Zeta, Meantime, any Nala soba. The Suko in a young Hasia and Dinani Tumonga to the Tupajigani, not last about the security. King Shitang, all last about the Nukichi, Gia last about the Nukichi, the not Diatang. Any Kashila young Levjik Tony, Shivada, Jebata, Wanda, Tabola sopa, Levjik Tony, Levjit, Kimi, Lundu Young Cheddar. Any me dang. Any Zetang, any Natang, or the D, Pechutan and the Greece. They Guba Karichi the Richitani, around the Yinigaki, the Pingi Yuna, and the Gori is only.
Rely upon materials, medicine, mantras, and profound interdependence that are beneficial to oneself and others. So this refers to a point where practitioner would become quite proficient and highly realized, and that for the purpose of benefiting, both oneself and others, when it can be beneficial to oneself and others, to use abilities such as some kind of material object which would be blessed with mantras. For various purposes, it could be that say that fast walking where somebody needs to reach someplace very quickly, or the blessings of medicines, mantras, profound interdependence, calling upon emptiness or interdependence for the benefit of others. It can be in rituals of the four activities of pacification, increase, control, or wrathful actions, whatever are called for, if they are truly beneficial to others and oneself, then one should use these methods for healing and so on.
Yang so Jimin the Shechina, Rangila Pimp Ze, me, Nasiate, Ji Gampopa Korang, Tambo Mimba in the one. Korang Mimba in the Tane, the Yang, Tatangarang to Zeseade, Jalan Yerjuke, Pena Churang la Karen Koyuna, Nekap and Kolik Zela Sopa, Kanda Gohoyuna Churanka, Kambala Golike, Yobzela Sopa, the Sukola Zese, me see at it Tatangarang to Turong neck me. Navjajudanga to me, sire, lung to peking lasum, the Suku Nimbog me, a Korang Mimba in the Tane, the lion didn't take those. Any Hasiate, Navjajudanga to Handu la Sobata. Timder Siat any Tony that to Sukola Goya or the Risha.
And we can also interpret this in terms of Gampopa's previous occupation of being a physician, that with that knowledge of medicine, to use materials, say a domicile, a home for someone if they need shelter, the medicines that they need, in the sense of what we normally think of as medicines for for healing sickness, and the use of mantras and meditation on and emptiness and so on, for the purposes of the healing profession. We can also understand this in this way.
Any dumbade calm down to be say down tablam things. The calm to be say sagori somebody that they let mambo shogomadwa, so the calm la care and true kuyunaya. Mantu what the Martins. True things yateke, Karen true kuyunaya, te tingors, watching true thing or secondwa, bibit Tanyela. True thing abu zabgor secondwa. True say the churang calm and true kuyuna, te tingor is in true things yat. Any common troop say lasoba thing. Common troop say thing goris. They la doing it or they jit in the tablam thing goris somebody. Up in the retreat in Yamisi deli, then Namjopachi in Bayina. Tablam that rolams in the Niri. Tablam say at the Nachu Sanghake tone in Yamisi. Tablam say at the any tablam saja chimbosagara. Roland Narochus. Tablam saja chimbotela. Any tumo. Any count kalmar zupoka count kalmat yas any what those in it tit in the gawa jek topa chine any rembage in the tony tawala ya take a pondo yoga yuai the chane tablam tinkorish tablam seate a shuktin da chila kwaina ngachu kando mala soba then the tin pemila soba tin Ombaniga tawa the Golden Perfect Chet, Tablam said the Rigila Goyurita.
Lotus.
Yeah.
Then rely upon food that suits your constitution and upon the path of method. So this is important that we eat food that is suitable for ourselves. Rely upon food that is suitable for ourselves. The term in Tibetan of truten, which means health. The first part of it, tru, refers to that which suits us, which suits our constitution, which works for us. And ten means to rely upon that. So this is the word itself has that meaning, relying upon what suits our particular body, constitution, and so on. And then to rely upon the path of method, this refers to the tantric methods, such as meditation on the central channel of the body, in which one induces the melting of the white and red drops, so that one experiences 4 successively increasing levels of bliss, which then supports one's realization of selflessness and emptiness. And it can also relying upon the consort in a tantric union for the realization of emptiness. So this reference to the path of method is those kinds of methods in tantric practice.
So, any Jibadeke Nyamla Pimbi Chupju, the Churam things. The Nyamla Pimbasia, the Toba Nyanda Tobas in the Niro, the Nyamto Nikan in Nyam Teleshiki. The Nyam Telatine, Toba the Chiki, what took a Jupalaina, Nyam Talatine, Topen David the Pot. Nyam, Tambo, Toba, Mud Machil, Hona, Nyam the Yunguri. Nyam Tela, Devinyam, Sarvinyam, Matopanyam. Any Devinyam Tela, any Lupola Pe, Chipo Yudeva, Zupo Panankalandu, Sicha Deva Naji. Any Tansala Gom Jani Kapsu, Shine Gom Deli Kapsu, Zupo the Tang Medeva Naji. Devinyam, Sarvinyam Siateke, any Mune Tane Naranka same to terrain, and Mune Sangasang Jeja Sambajik, same with Sachate, Shuchimo, and the Mundujune, Devinyam, Sarvinyam. Matopanyam Siatea Petinajini, Simla, Mune Tane, Anga Tatarang Sang Jeja Sambajik. Any desan matopa ke nyam la sopa, tende yonko yorwa, tende indu chani ti nyam la pimpe shupju la sopa tingo si, tambo nyam de ya yongwe chi de. Any look chu lam tang, any chik la sopa ta chik kala la sopa, tende chik ta tingin jingam ten so de, singwa tang, any gupa jirwa. Singwa ta gupa, pena singwa la tine, samsana yang, singwa chamo katena lem de chani nyan lep yuri. Singwa de kari teni yongo yuri siddhi chani, di nari chupchu siya de, singwa de kari teni yongo yuri siddhi chani, tolo trombo chun, khala mangbo sa, tende yile kapsa, eni singwa siya de yongo dowa, singwa tupo de yongo yuri. Singwa chamo la lep chali kapsa, singwa chamo de ngun mizin song yuri, kale khabo yusi. Singwa chamo la lep chali kapsa, eni ngune tani nyamde tada desa matopa nyamde su yongo yuri. Eni gupa siya de singu ni si de, ta shineke parchi ni de, singwa de gupa ni de rwa. Gupa de kare ri si de chani, namdo hachang tochi ne. Eni chamchana, coffee tinte mambon tong, rwa. Chamchana, jaa tinte mambon tong, ti. Tende mambon tong tende se de, eni che semde la chik chak chak anda yong ne, semde ma nim ma tawa chi. Eni namdo mambo chi semko tola yong dewa chi yong dowa. Deyang chupchu sinaya, chupchu siyandi tani gebyo la koya yong mari, chulang korang la kokore. Eni tende indu tani, di kala tang, chulam tishu ko tole, yong ko yore isi. Mangsong.
Rely upon Dharma and conduct that benefit your experience. Okay, so when we talk about experiences here, we can think about it in terms of the experiences that precede realization. Okay, so and relying upon Dharma and conduct that benefit these kinds of experiences in meditation. So the experiences that precede realization in meditation are experiences of bliss and clarity and non-conceptuality. Where, bliss, our body may feel so light as if we're flying through the sky, or sometimes even feel in shamatha or calm abiding meditation that our body has completely disappeared, or with experiences of clarity, non-conceptuality being so intense that we have a feeling, I must have already realized enlightenment. It would feel so so clear, such clarity of our mind, expansive clarity, or non-conceptuality in our mind. And there are certain kinds of conducts that are helpful for these experiences. But what hinders these experiences are primarily sinking or torpor or excitement, and the kinds of conduct that can be conducive for sinking, in which we sometimes get sleepy, as if we eat a lot of food or we keep ourselves very warm, so not doing that if it's bringing on sleepiness. And on the other hand, the other obstacle to these experiences is excitement and agitation. Oh, and in terms, wait a second, of sinking, there is a gross and subtle form of it. The gross is easier to understand, that developing sleepiness, but the subtle forms of it are more difficult to recognize. And they can be present even in these experiences of bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality, when there's not quite the vibrance and intensity of the awareness. But on the other hand, there can be too much agitation, which will hinder such experiences, and that can come from different causes, such as maybe drinking too much coffee or tea, or we get so much caffeine, we have lots of thoughts, and we just can't settle our mind, we can't relax our mind continues to be excited with thoughts. So to rely upon conducts that help us to develop these experiences of bliss, non-conceptuality, and and clarity, which in our Kagyu tradition are seen as precursors of actual realization.
That's all. Any take a chulam tin song doa, chulam telayang, penatate, nga dukang na daily caps, ngalate, tenda mabo yon. Devinyam, Sarvanyam, Lapa the Devinyam Tengalata, Mamboji. Sometimes I do so gom jana. Hook up the lo chunchonwa. Make papa, Timboji Sara, require boss, because something she needed. Dawa Rinani, Ngaran Hakwa, she nearly Yarjip in Rogodoa. Sometimes Ngaran do so they got the Nuzupo the Mendoza Bangaran Lati, some Kokodoa. Jachet young Nuzupo the Mendoza some day. Ngaran yi machine. This is support the Sutherland is done, this is any Nagadoa. Ale, Nakando Zubondo, somebody mato. When it make but 60 the day and the same na. Same that same song could talk by Yonso Chapa Chama, the Nipachi the Pone. And this is a gom Jani capsule. These same that same song could talk with Nipateke, Jinsene, any ram yigati. Devinyam tang, Sarvanyam tang, Matobanyam, Tina ni Devinyam de. Mune Yunju you de Watan de Chirisha. Tangala Dukan and it Mambochi to the Yungu.
And I can really affirm from my own experience when I was in retreat and when I was young, and I would have a very good concentration. I seem to have had quite good concentration, where sometimes the subject object would feel quite merged, and I would notice progress from month to month. And sometimes I would truly feel like my body was gone, that I had no body, and I wouldn't believe that I'd have a body, and so I'd hit my arm against my box until it hurt, and then I'd go, oh yeah, well that hurts, so I must still have a body. But these experiences can arise very powerfully with strong concentration.
Tatela Nyam security, T, you were Talatine, and it opened at the Korang. Pena, not to men that you bargo you, not Tambo Toalem, Toa, Nalo, Yung Duchani, oh, Toa lives on Tame, Young Doxine. Toaka Talatine, me part of Petty Nai, Nyam de Toa Nai. I'm not to Mambo chicken yam. This is Desalmatop and Yam de Shine, Yanka Hitchike. What the Yam de Mune Sanjaka Compound, Mune Tatoni Tawata, Alatopachi, Sambachiga. Nyam Korang, the Shine in the young the cassette. Cup they do any, Gondishiba Naji any Tambo Nantini Shedwa Lama Tambachi Lama said the Dimbachi at the Dawat in the Dawa shirt. Nyam Nyung in the Lamachi Gori, Seate. That didn't our chicken cups, that go yuri. Lama Korang and Yamyong the Dichi song, this ane, oh, Ngalanguma the Dichi song. They David Yamri, Ngalanguma the Dichi song, they Savan Yamri. Take Mune Tony Tawang Omate, Marta Topang Omate, Marisine, Yamyong got horn in the shade Jashin. Go yuri cup de da.
And so these experiences are really like signs of realization on the way. Just like if you were to see smoke rising, above some landscape, then you could realize, oh, there must be fire there, and that you would eventually see fire where you first saw smoke. Well, these experiences are like that. They're signs that realization is on the way, but they are so powerful that there would be the tendency to think, oh I'm already enlightened, when one has these experiences of bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality. So that's where we really need to go back to that first thing upon which to rely, which was the Holy Guru, who possesses realization and compassion. Because, at that point, we need to rely upon a holy guru to tell us, well, no, that's not actual enlightenment, that, but you would go and relate your experience to the guru, saying, I was having this experience of bliss or clarity. And you would need to have the guru who has the experience, the realization, to be able to tell you, well, that's only a sign that you're on your way. That's not actual enlightenment. So that's why we would need such an experienced guru.
Lasso. Any gubadeke, the good carvada dimple lomatins. Tate lame ma yang loma jisanti the tani. Lomatela tachesine. Teba yoa, kuba yoa. And rigid kawada dimple loma yona. Any lomate. Any tingoris, nyargoris. What is a coach?
Then rely upon worthy disciples who have faith and respect. This is advice for the guru to examine the disciple, to see that they have faith and conviction and respect and reverence. And in such cases that a disciple has these qualities, then they should be relied upon, or they should be kept as one's disciples.
Jula Namji Jun to Timba the Shipjin things. That Jula Namji Seade. Jula Namji Seade. Sacha Nyando, Sas, Kalasa, Chas, the Nan and she pass and draw the Atela. Tarimbol and Roatela, Chasakio. Tarimbol and Roatela and Rosekura. Chasiade. Sosu Gom Jasak Kambanani Pando, Tsundo. Kompa chungchung ni pando tundo siya dalan cha sakiri sa cha. Ani nyar si, ani niwa, ani ndop si, ani dewa. Ta di yi kaps. Ta nabya junde dukang nane de yali kaza chila ngusim kuyuri. Penen ro siya de kampa slo li thari mbochi lan ro songa ina ro siki yuri maton cha siki yu marwa. Cha siya de ke tsikde chula namba yi nani sa cha nyandong cha siya de Gongkang nani gom jackson nani kamba nani cham chana gong nyob de ya lang nani kamba rana si pando tsundo komba kashin roya telen chasaki yuri. O tindiki ke kala sawata ani nani pasun roya tang sa cha ani chini nyarwa tang ani nabja jude tangna deli kapsu ti chula namba yi kapsu ani kaddu yina ya ani dimba tang shibjin tang ta kharcha nga chu Chutunghama Tishi Bayu than the Shetawimba, or the any Bayus in the thing or somebody.
Rely upon mindfulness and attentiveness throughout the four modes of conduct. So these four modes of conduct are sitting, walking, sleeping, and eating. Now, in walking, this refers to moving around one's place of meditation. In particular, there's also traveling, going outside of, and this is not so much what's referred to here in one's own conduct, but it's whether you're sitting down or whether you're moving around, whether you're walking, and whenever you're walking, and then also whenever you're lying down, and whenever you're eating food, to always rely upon mindfulness and attentiveness. Remember, this is what we talked about last time, mindfulness, that inner alertness and the conscientiousness, to rely upon these in all of one's four modes of conduct.
Oh, that's all. That they get timber sabi chuchi theory. That thing nanning at you. You see the rake nanny namju at you gom that is sewaina. You see the rake nank downwate, rangla kache dindo. Jacha nani jacha kache ngarangando. Hacha kechimbo chanjando atinana. Hacha zachin chanjando. A dodo she doing it in my shaking that. You see the rake nanny shit had to take it you think nani. Kong double logic song yalik downwate so. Rang lunga is on la kache dindo. Kache tele trajata. They mean the kati dog so can you momba. Lama zambo dog so topong imba. Nevin back a dog so don't chimbo. 든지치게 다 간지치를 가서 로고도 간지치 지근도 다때 딱지세야 돼 뺏기지 버리다. 그래가지고 학교에 뺏기지 버리.
So, with the completion of each of these 10 sets, which are such precious instructions from Lord Gampopa, we should really then go over them and examine ourselves to see, which of these do we have, which are we, and which of them are we endowed with, and to what extent, and which of these are we lacking, missing. It's so important to each time go through these and check for ourselves. For instance, how much do I rely upon my stable companions who have similar perspective and practice, and vice versa, to really examine ourselves in the case of each of the 10 things that are mentioned.
배지 잡아이나 라마 잠보 띵고 세야 되가 도소라 라마 잠보 밀리 차블라 조봉이 봐. 네빈발에 대고 세야가 도소라 네빈발에 마송아지네 돈처 침보나나니 깡종의 대야와당. 다 대다 된다고 령아 이송게 멘트 속에 차진된 가sol라 가제 주의야처. 와 담비 죽으면 텐속에 텐속에 감보박 송바 난인 가sol라 차진 가제 딘야. 다땡근에 라니 또게 이나 따라로 거도 마저와리 nga랑가 라니 또 거라 데레니 정데 알레 담배추 체딘지 조거나 차진 튠지 엔디 고혼도 안데 메나 릭문도 와 삼바치게 onang세야 베케치 모레이시.
So again, where Guru Gampopa advises us to rely upon a holy guru who possesses realization and compassion. Rely upon solitude that is isolated, pleasant, endowed with blessing. So in such case, we would check how much do I rely upon my guru, and as opposed to how much do I associate with companions who are not a good influence on myself. And then how much do I rely upon isolation and meditation compared to how much do I intentionally insert myself into big cities and places where there's a lot of bustling activity. In the case of each of these, we should examine ourselves, check for ourselves. There's nothing about our own mind and life that's hidden from ourselves. So we should be able to investigate this and see, well, what am I, realizing, for instance, there are these kinds of prerequisites that facilitate a Dharma practice, like being in a place that's pleasant and isolated to meditate and so on. How much do I rely upon these, or how much am I involved in that which is the opposite of these things, which hinder practice? So it's so important to investigate for ourselves.
라서 아니 다든데 다들에 무지기 추tin 될지 될은 참야 아니 디 유거드네 다들에 감보파 소나는 친게 냄추 인도자네 참하게 당하든들 까와장보이 저당 까와장보 인사바데 내 들어가서 남네 지난주로 초라때 야와 말이 지난주 학고야 듣겠지 뭐라 나든들 까마까주게 냠니 드르파 까와 롱고 까마까주게 담탈지 데랭 두치장보 던지지라 애니 제 감보파게 송야리게 당하데 다다이네 냠스린지 요와데 근데 까와장보 송 삼바치게 까착하시지를 삼았다시고시.
So again, please, everyone, think about how fortunate we are to have this opportunity, to have met with these teachings, these practice teachings of the Kagyu lineage, and to be able to learn them and practice them on this holy day of the anniversary of Lama Gampopa's passing. please, for a few moments here, just really feel how fortunate we are, how really happy occasion this is.
Hola so. Any tela tange ta Gampopa ke Horangin Namjajun the Yamlindan Tunderi Cheke Sekashi Ma Jorgin thing at Chittering Gampopa Ladam Rachi. Or they ma Shranka Matsik Ma Joshua. Any
So now I want to recite some words of daily practice that I do in relation to Gampopa, and I'd like to have them translated.
Lama Rinpoche the Yermi Ba Gampopa la Sansalo.
I prostrate to the Guru inseparable from Lama Gampopa.
Danjin Loi Tongwar Sinjilo.
May I please bless me to let go of self-grasping.
Gumi Jula Jewar Sinjilo.
Bless me to have contentment that needs nothing.
Chumi Namdonga Bar Sinjilo.
Chumingari,
Chumayin Bak Namdonga Bar Sinjilo.
please bless me to cease non-dharmic thoughts.
Ransin Jimmy Tobar Sinjilo.
Bless me to realize no difference between myself and others.
Tribaran Sarishiva Sinjilo.
Bless me to bless me that deception be naturally dispelled on the spot.
Nancy Chuko Tobar Sinjilo. Nancy Chukur Tobar Sinjilo.
Bless me to realize all of existence as the Dharmakaya, truth body.
Lamarumbo Jila Zoande Danzin Loya Tongara Sinjalo, Gumi Jula Jivara Sinjalo, Jimmy Namdonga Bara Sinjalo, Ransin Jimmy Dobara Sinjalo. Turboran Sara Jivara Sinjalo, Nancy Juga Dobara Sinjalo, Lamarambo Jila Zoande Danzin Loya Tongara Sinjalo, Gumi Jula Jivara Sinjalo. Chumi Namdong Gabara Sinjalo, Ransin Jimmy Dobara Sinjalo, Turbaran Sara Jivara Sinjalo, Nancy Juga Dobara Sinjalo, Lamarambo Jila Zoande Danzin Loya Tongara Sinjalo. Gumi Jula Jivara Sinjalo, Jimmy Namdong Gabara Sinjalo, Ransin Jimmy Dobara Sinjalo, Turbaran Sara Jivara Sinjalo, Nancy Juga Dobara Sinjalo. Lasso Samba, any train she yajite, Yanja Taji Malago, Chiranki Maji Lashua.
Gary Mundro
Marimada. The Reishi Yojuk Timbers of Chuchu, the Yanja Taji Malacho. Same the daily pinky, Kazi La Tuna Yakote, same the daily pinky, the Chedang a large fury.
So Rinpoche would like us to once again go over the 10 things to rely upon. Today, the more we hear of them, the better it is. There are 10 things upon which to rely. Rely upon a holy guru who possesses realization and compassion. Rely upon solitude that is isolated, pleasant, and endowed with blessing. Rely upon stable companions of like views and practice. Rely upon moderation, recollecting the defects of necessities. Rely impartially upon the instructions of the lineage of Siddhas. Rely upon materials, medicines, mantras, and profound interdependence that are beneficial to oneself and others. Rely upon food that suits your constitution and upon the path of method. Rely upon Dharma and conduct that benefit your experience. Rely upon worthy disciples who have faith and respect. Rely upon mindfulness and attentiveness throughout the 4 modes of conduct. Those are the 10 things upon which to rely.
Timbarsawa chuchone, Tobada Tuji Dimbe Lama Tamba Ting, Vinchin Yangala Sinchaba Gumba Ting, Tapjun Tunche Otaba Drobo Ting, Soba Yoze Jun Tingshin, Tsusimba Ting, the top jibe Menga Somi Ting, Ranjila Pimba Zengatang, Timdrasamo Ting, Compton Tribe Setang, Tablam Ting, Nyala Pimba Chupjotang, Jolam Ting, Degu Kawada Dimba Loma Ting. Jula namji yunde timba da shibjin tin. Dene timbar sawe chujyo yeno. Laso. Ani tene chunsam tele jagayi. Ani shirantu chingdo ya yo na mato yonandagiri.
So here's where we'll leave our session now for today. And if you have something to recite, then please go ahead and recite that. Ani rinpoche ngasu dampe chushi yamena namgyungi.
Da chingdo tasari. Ya.
Pema tomo yobe.
Panden tsawe lama rinpoche dagi jiwo pime densho la kadin chenpe kone jison kuson tuke ngoto zedo so. Omso de ramjan kyamne gyatsu chen la tang denye tendre luwa mepe. Kam chik shuru na. Yegi kam chik shuru.
Oh, glorious and precious root guru, please take seat of
I'm sorry, Konda. Omsote Ramjan Kyamne Gyatsu Chinla Dan Denye Dendre Lua Mebe Kebara Chime Cheye Lazo Ki Chewa Ishe Chinche Dendre Kegun Chinle Kake Kama Bekasu Tonga Chazo Mengach Mome Suwe Lamda Nyamdo Ki Yunde Tseka Gete Shabdes Kanke Sansum Doje Rankam So Lekwara Tenje Longdo Tampech Sheju Tusan Gombe Dude Ye Saten Gengbe Chinle Tachin Shu Pande Lame Nambara Tabala Kichi Samya Lokta Mikesh Chinze Lekwara Tongwe Mugu Ki Lame Chinla Semla Juba Shu Kewa Kundu Yangda Lama Tang Jeme Chuki Petang Longchu Sata Lamge Yunde Rapso Ne Pate Lame Kopan Yodo Shu.
Oh, glorious and precious root guru, please take seat of lotus at my heart, caring for me in your great kindness. Please grant attainments of body, speech, and mind. In all the actions of the guru, may I never perceive faults, seeing all they do as well-intended and perfect. May the blessings of the guru enter my mind. In all lives, may I never be parted from perfect gurus, enjoy the glory of Dharma, perfecting all qualities of the paths and stages, quickly attain the state of the holder of the Vajra. May all minds of all sentient beings turn towards Dharma. May that Dharma become the path. May the path be clear of deception. May deception arise as innate wisdom.
Ya samba.
I remember the Munlam did so some ngala tanarona ngani indicate you go.
Laso. Dajin Simjin Damje Loju Son Dovara Sinja Labdo Soro, Chulamdan Dovara Sinja Labdo Soro, Lantern Basava Sinja Labdo Soro, Trubai Shisan Chavara Sinja Labdo Soro. Dane Jiva Tamje de Nyami Tapo Gajo Da Chiba Bardin Lama Ye Jizo Jin de Menda Aisho. Lasso, any Tatarin to the any China Batama Gadinche, any Chitun Jima Yang, the Sinjion. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone for attending today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Take care, Shamba Chuna Karapando, eh?
Gary? Nishimi. Gary.
Shime.
Shimi.
Chuna Shime, you are going to Shiama, so Chula Shime, you're right.
Lai. Lai. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do.
Kura Tom Jagado.
Oh, Chuck said, Chigidu.
Ah.
Rinpoche tuchiche.
Gadinche Tama Tuchi na any
Karten so.
Rinpoche tuji karten che.
Tujiche, Aja, Tujiche.
Tuji karten Rinpoche. Tuji
Any Atson Jopon
Tuji
Jion,
cheso Rinpoche
So,
Karten che.
Rinpoche.
Gadinche.
Anya.